is walk people through why Fukushima was impossible. If you can open up link number 11.
Okay.
And it's the real emergency backup systems. One thing that people don't realize about Fukushima and nuclear power in general is your backup systems. The electrical backup systems, your diesel generators, are pretty much only there to keep business as usual. The real emergency backup systems at a nuclear facility don't need any electricity at all to function. And that's why Fukushima was impossible. The swamping of the external generators by the tsunami was irrelevant because the real emergency backup systems are driven by steam from the reactors themselves. So in other words, when your power goes offline and your steam that's normally coming out of that reactor to turn your turbine, when you don't need that power and you can't turn that generator anymore because the reactor is putting out too much, putting out too much should be putting through an idle generator without overspinning it. You enter an emergency backup mode, and that steam is used to spin cooling pumps to cool the reactor off. So losing your diesel generators to spin electrical cooling pumps is irrelevant if you're supposed to have backup steam turbine pumps that do the exact same job.
Actually, that's brilliant. That makes a lot of sense. You're sure going to have plenty of steam.
There's no way Fukushima could have... when Fukushima blew up, when Fukushima got hit by the tsunami, and everybody, I heard on the news that a nuclear plant got hit by a tsunami, my thought was why does that matter? Because I understood reactor systems good enough so that I knew that couldn't cause any problem at all. The only thing you're going to do when you kick off all electricity to that nuclear power plant, what is supposed to happen is the steam from that reactor is supposed to start powering pumps rather than turn a generator. Well, the problem is that at reactors 1, 2, and 3, all fueled reactors, those systems activated immediately, just like they should when the generator went off, when the generator's cut off. The trouble is that within 11 minutes at reactor 1, that system shut itself off, and the only way that it can shut itself off is if it gets a powered command from the controller to shut itself off. Well, then here we get into Stuxnet. This Magna BSP company came out of Dimona, Israel, where Stuxnet was written. And if you go back to let me see here. I've got the links for this here. I've got to get back to that page. Oh, I'm not on that page anymore. Anyway, there's
number 20.
a link.
Stuxnet is documented. It's number 20.
Yes, Stuxnet is documented to have been written by the Israeli Defense Forces. Those 3 links are critical because everybody has been saying, well, we don't know where Stuxnet came from. Well, the Israelis have bragged about and celebrated and videos on YouTube and everything about writing Stuxnet and destroying Iran's nuclear program with it. Well, 4 months later, after Japan offers to enrich uranium for Iran, out of the exact same within a mile of where Stuxnet was written, here comes a security company and gets access to the heart of Fukushima. Well, Japan obviously is an enemy now, and they need to be taken out every bit as bad as Iran. This security company, because I didn't get an admission from them directly, you'll never get an admission that they actually stuck a flash drive in one of those PLCs to infect Fukushima with this virus. But I did get the proof in an article written in the Jerusalem Post that they had a full-time unauthorized data connection to the heart, to the SCADA system in that facility via a connection that they had made to one of their cameras, one of their nuke cameras in that facility. So here we have the security company having a totally unauthorized data connection into the heart of Fukushima, into the reactor rooms, and all those SCADA systems are interlinked. And it could have probably jumped out of Fukushima and gone over to some of the other reactors that acted up after the tsunami too, which is impossible. But they had other reactors have problems, and it's virtually impossible. Well, these emergency systems activated at Fukushima. That's the bottom line. At all three reactors, they activated. At reactor 1, they cut off after 11 minutes. And reactor 1 promptly went into meltdown, because if you cut off those emergency systems within the 3 hours of shutting a reactor down, the reactor will, even though it's been scrammed and it's not doing anything to perpetuate a chain reaction, just the breakdown of some of the highly radioactive isotopes will keep that reactor hot and keep it generating heat. So you need those cooling pumps running to prevent a meltdown, even though the reactor is shut off. At reactor 1, that system was told to shut off outside the control of the operators, and the operators couldn't get it to turn back on 11 minutes after the generators cut off. With reactor 2, those systems shut down 3 hours after the electricity was lost. And at reactor 3, those systems shut down on day 2. They shouldn't ever shut down, because you know how a semi functions, it has air pressure, and as long as it has air pressure, the brakes are off.
Right.
When you release air pressure on a semi, when your brakes are failed, it means that they're on. If you have a brake problem with a semi, those brakes are on. With a brake problem with a car, they're off. But with a brake problem with a semi, that truck is so dangerous that its default mode is the brakes have to be told to shut off. This emergency backup system at Fukushima actually needs a powered command to keep it from activating. And the fact that it did activate means that in that facility, something still had power and fed those valves the signal they needed to shut off. Well, Magna BSP bragged to the Jerusalem Post after Reactor 3 had exploded that they maintained a full-time data connection to their cameras all the way through in that reactor.
And that's 24, number 24 for those listening.
Yes, that page is my internet's down right now. It's a long story, but I've been having lots of problems since I typed this article. And it's a long story. I don't want to get into that.
Yeah, okay.
So I just kind of wing it now. But the only way so here we have power dead of this facility. Batteries die in 8 hours, and there's so many things. They actually brought in generators from off-site before the backup batteries to turn the cooling pumps died. They have backup batteries there. They actually brought in off-site power, and they had sufficient power available there within 8 hours of that. The roads were in perfect shape because there was no earthquake. They managed to drive these huge generators in, and when they tried to hook them up, the switchgear would not let them turn on the power to the facility. Well, all these systems are linked in to the SCADA system that can be infected by Stuxnet. So here's a system telling them that they can't activate this power that they brought in. You can't get the switches to work. The only way that can happen is the controller telling it not to activate. There are so many aspects to this story. So we have the regular, the standard steam-powered backups not working. We have the electrical backups not working, and the generators. One of those generators actually kept running, and one was enough to keep that facility safe. It kept running even despite the other ones cutting off, which never got flooded. But because they're in the turbine room, that's another story. You have to read the article at Fukushima, jimstonefreelance.fukushima or /Fukushima.html. You have to read that article to get all this. But here we have a facility where power's been brought in, they can't hook it up. They got a generator working, the switchgear is telling it you can't use it. They've got emergency backup systems that are functioning, and they shut off all by themselves. Well, with a data link leaving, and so here is a scenario that I think really happened at Fukushima. And I'm just going to read this because I've got it really well written. I'm going to read it straight off the site.
Okay.
I've got the backup here running. I honestly believe that Japan is being held a nuclear hostage. It all makes sense. Number one, Japan offers to enrich uranium for Israel's great state in Iran. Number two, immediately Israel sets up front companies masquerading as security companies, and one of them succeeds in getting a security contract at a Japanese nuclear facility. 4 months later, the Dimona dozen shows up, and under the cover of a security contract, gets unlimited access to the heart of Fukushima. They plant the virus, install real cameras outside the facility, and functional, poorly disguised new cameras inside the facility. In addition to this, they install unauthorized data connection to allow control of all the guts of the facility via the virus. And they admitted this to this connection in an article in the Jerusalem Post. After installing Stuxnet and the nukes, they scram. Israel waits for one of the many natural quakes, which is how I wrote the article. And I only came up with this information about the possibility of creating earthquakes this morning. The tsunami comes in, swamps Stuxnet. Okay. Israel waits for one of the many natural quakes in Japan to provide cover for the tsunami bomb, and they already have the nuke at the bottom of the Japan Trench. VLF communications are established for the bomb to penetrate the water. David and Dimona get seismic readings from Japan. 6.67 in progress. Boom. Tsunami comes in and swamps the Stuxnet-affected power plant, and direct video feed from legitimate cameras they installed gets back to David and Dimona via a totally unauthorized channel, and David knows just when to cut the generators off. Others on the team do all they can to counteract emergency measures taken by the employees at Fukushima, who are unaware an attack is taking place and do not understand why everything is going crazy. Israeli Prime Minister calls Japan and says, take that for offering to help Iran. And you know, there are 5 more nukes in the ocean off the coast of Japan, and we are going to set those off and destroy your coastal cities if you do not forget all about that 6.67 and say it was a 9 to cover for tsunami effects. And now we are going to make your people demand you move away from nuclear power so you can never threaten us like that again. We are going to blow up Fukushima, and you're just going to go along with whatever story we tell you. So David and his pals closed all the valves to the reactors via the remote link they admitted to installing and put them to full throttle to melt them down, while the virus keeps control room readouts displaying false info like nothing is going on, even though the place is coming apart. After enough mayhem ensues to revive plausibility, they set up the planted nukes and blow the place sky high. And that is how Reactor 4 is building 7. That's how you get a reactor that has been completely disassembled and cannot do anything to explode. And even though, I didn't get every single detail, I think I've got enough because the seismic data proves beyond a doubt that the quake was not what we were told and was in fact an inland 6.8, which is calculated by that higher than the 6.67 that we talked about, because that seismic station is never going to be right at the epicenter, so they triangulated it to a 6.8. Numerous reference sources prove that Stuxnet really was written by Israel. And Japan really did offer to enrich uranium for Iran, and Israel has been documented to have already destroyed one nuclear program in Iran, and probably did. And Japan contributing to Iran's nuclear future would have made them just as much an enemy to Israel as Iran. Israel would want them taken out. It is documented that a team from Israel with history only consisting of working in Israeli defense got unlimited access to a Japanese nuclear facility, which then exploded. Reactor 4 had been defueled and proven disassembled, and therefore no explosion was possible. What should have happened at Reactor 4, if anything at all? The fuel pool should have melted down and caught fire once the water boiled off from a lack of recirculation at worst, and badly contaminated the containment structure. Nothing else. And that's the thing, is the inside containment walls are like over 8 feet thick, probably 12 feet thick. I never could get the specification for that, but they blew so badly that Reactor 4 is in danger of falling over, and I'd like to know how that happened. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm just letting you go, so we get this all in. I want to get this all in.
The Japanese government is going along with the story of a scientifically proven false 9.0 earthquake. You can see the pictures, you can see the seismograms, nothing happened there other than a tsunami. There is a reason why they're going along with this story, and my guess is that Israel has made threats to wipe out Japan's coastal cities with additional tsunamis. If the government of Japan speaks a word of what went on, there should be no reason for Japan to go along with this crazy story other than a continued threat. Is it not interesting that this quake happened, at the bottom of the Japan Trench? I only found out that it really, they were saying that it happened at the bottom of the Japan Trench, but when you map out where this nuke actually went off by their star in the ocean, it's not in the Japan Trench. It's about 20 miles inland, closer to the land from the Japan Trench. Now, here we get the kicker. The Department of Homeland Security canceled a meeting about Stuxnet at TakedownCon. TakedownCon is a conference where it's an industrial conference where industrial facility operators get to know or learn about how to secure their facilities. The Department of Homeland Security has advised the cancellation of all discussion of Stuxnet. And my belief, for the reason for that, is because they want to keep the threat alive. They want this thing out there so our reactors are vulnerable to it, so they can get their disasters here. And I guess, we're getting kind of close to the end of the program, so I'm just going to let people go at that. Consider that. We need such a massive awareness on this subject just to prevent a disaster in this country, because they're not picking favorites. They want dominance, they want control, and it doesn't matter who they hurt or what they do to get it. America has been a little bit too much of a rebel for them. They're pretty upset with this country. It didn't just fall over like Europe did. We are the last stand, and I really believe they have a plan for us that isn't pretty at all. And so basically that's my word. That's what I had to say.
Now you say they.
The elite. It's, I want to not allude to Zionists and what that means. I want to keep away from that as much as possible, even though that is what we're talking about.
But it might go. I picture. We'll say the Zionists being a more of the military arm of this group that runs the world. No.
I've been inside that community for 2 years. It's every last one of them. You'll get your occasional good one, like Mike Rivero, or your occasional good one like who's the guy that just died of cancer? Oh gosh, I can't believe it. Aaron Russo. Yeah. Aaron Russo was a good one. Not all of these people are off the edge, but I'll tell you right now, about 95% of them are. They are on the same sheet of paper. And it doesn't matter if they're Orthodox or Reform or conservative or anything else there, or Sephardic. They're all on the same sheet of paper. I've sat in their meetings and heard them brag about having control of the government and the medical system, the educational system, and the media and the communications and everything else. They have us in the bag. They've got it. They know it, and what can I say?
I like using the term because for me, it's not about an ethnicity, or it's about it's a state government. All governments are evil.
Yeah, well, it's what we got here is a group that wants world dominance at any cost.
Right. And this
and it is political, because when face to face they're really nice, and among their own group they're decent people like anyone else. But every group tends to have its tendency towards dominating everything, and they've had a lot of success.
Yeah, we're at the end, and so you're going to keep up this page with some references on your page, so people who listen to the show can go to the website, JimStoneFreelance.com, and there'll be some link to take you through so people can follow the bouncing balls. You may update it as time goes, but this way they can you can follow it. And it will be rebroadcast, like I mentioned, and the archives will go up, and thousands more will be aware of this, and they can get a hold of you through your website at JimStoneFreelance.com, while you and your website still exist, that is. Are you,
I've had some trouble.
Yeah, so you gave me a list of things to do, so I started to call people and let them know that I wasn't planning suicide, I don't have cancer, and whatnot, because this should be known prior to anything happening. So I'm hoping it doesn't come to that, but I'm glad you did the show. You have some very good data that has to be answered if someone's going to say no. So, but we will talk again. Maybe we could continue on another show. But Jim Stone, thank you for your time and your effort.
Yes, thank you very much. You know, I was a little bit brief, but I kind of wanted this to be intense, and so maybe next time we can be a little bit more relaxed.
All righty, so hang in there.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.